Hi. So my plan was to do a video a week so that I would hopefully be used to it and I wouldn't be super awkward. And then I decided to do a 3-part series all at once, which meant that I didn't have to make videos for almost a month. So guess what? Super awkward, sorry. And I've decided to talk about something that I can have everyone question my expertise on, for cause, definitely. But I'm sure you saw the title. What I want to talk about is cognitive behavioral therapy and how it's supposed to work versus what happens when you have avoidant personality disorder. Now, I've talked about it, I don't know, dozens of times, I'm sure. Maybe not I don't know how many times. A lot of times I've explained CBT is like the gold standard treatment for people with avoidant personality disorder, and it doesn't work. How it's supposed to work is you have an idea about yourself that is not valid. The one that they always use as an example is you think you're ugly. I'm so old that I don't care one way or the other. So I'm like, that's like the dumbest, lamest thing. I mean, if it was that superficial, come on. I mean, at its core, I feel as a person with avoidant personality disorder that I have some sort of, I described it as a black mark on my soul that makes me ineligible to participate in like normal like mammal behavior. It's not so superficial. It's like to my core. But anyway, let's go back to the superficial example. That how CBT is supposed to work is you have an idea about yourself that is invalid. We'll call it that. Like you're an ugly person. And then through the therapy, you're supposed to come to the realization that that is not actually completely accurate. Maybe you're not hideous, maybe you're average. Therefore, to you, that's ugly. And that you would never treat anybody else the same way. You would never call somebody who looked like you had your features ugly if it was another person other than yourself or something. I don't know. Or maybe you were told that by somebody, when you were in the 2nd grade or something, and it stuck. And it's wrong. And then you go to therapy, you realize, oh, look, this idea I had about myself is inaccurate. Therefore, I'm not going to have it anymore. Yay. That's how it's supposed to work. I can't even imagine that there's anybody on this planet that would have an issue that drove them so crazy that, sorry for the term, but that they had to go to therapy to work it out, and that's all it would take, and that somebody would point out to them that, oh, actually, you should think this other way, and then it's gone, and that's all it takes. Come on. But that's because I have a personality disorder, which is not just, a set of thought patterns. It is, the other thing that I've heard about it is that it's close to a delusion, that it doesn't matter, that CBT doesn't work because that would not work. Because, and that's why I'm like, well, what? Seriously, that's what you're supposed to do? That's all you're supposed to do? You're supposed to go, geez, I was wrong about this. And look, this is what it actually is. This is the truth. Apparently, yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. The thing is that when you have a personality disorder, it doesn't matter that you've got this 100%. That's why it's almost a delusion. Here is a fact that is completely counter to whatever it is that you've come up with as your reality. And you can acknowledge it's a fact, and then it's a complete conundrum. It's a paradox because there is this fact. Yeah, you can acknowledge that fact. And also, guess what? You're not going to change the way you think. That is why CBT doesn't work. But that's like the basic CBT. Then there is this other kind of CBT. It is technically the same thing. I wish there was a different term for it, because then maybe people could actually try it and they would be able to go in and say, because it's like CBT advanced, which is that you don't just come up with one fact that counters whatever this thought process that you've had, and suddenly, poof, you're thinking a different way and your life is so much better. No. This other process, what it is basically you overwhelm your system with multiple examples of, facts that counter whatever your self-image is or your idea is that's inaccurate. And I mean, it could be a handful, or it could be dozens, or it could be hundreds of examples. Now, I actually did have a therapist sort of try this. I mean, again, it didn't work. I mean, to a degree, I think if, in my case anyway, if it was pointed out, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing this, it's not just some weird anomaly, like we're really actively trying to come up with this list so that you can not just know that there's this sort of second reality out there that exists, but you're using it to counter. Now, again, maybe, I mean, I've had some very interesting therapists. Maybe I've just had some crap therapists that this is the way that everybody else should do, and that they were trying to come in like sort of like a backdoor type of thing. But I mean, I literally, like, it was kind of embarrassing, but there was a list that was like kept up on the wall. I mean, I was kind of like, is this a HIPAA violation? In their office at all times, this is the list. They would write on this list like positive things about myself. She would catch me saying positive things about myself, how I describe things, and she would like put it up there. Because it was coming from me. That's why it's CBT. Because you're pointing out. See, it's not like somebody just saying, hey, no, you're not ugly, I think you're cute, or whatever. Which, by the way, would make me puke if anybody said that. Just, I'm not fishing for compliments. Oh no, it's getting weird. Anyway. Okay, go ahead. Have a laugh at me being awkward, because, yep, I am awkward, and I'm just going to keep going, because if I stop, then I will stop, and I will stop. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, not fishing for compliments. That's not the point. The point is, I don't know why. That, again, okay, I do know why. That's like the default that people are concerned. It's like an easy fix, I think. It's like an obvious, easy thing. Unless you're like really like, I mean, did you ever see that guy that's got like that all over wart situation that makes him look like he's got bark for skin? Okay. That dude, like, don't even know how he's still alive. That dude, you could say he's ugly. Although probably they all say that he probably has a wonderful personality and he's a lovely person, and blah, blah, blah. And he must have, or else, because if you can't even like move because you've got this skin condition that makes it impossible for you to bend any parts of your body. I mean, he's got to have somebody feed him. If he was an asshole, they just wouldn't. They just let him starve to death, right? Anyway, so yeah, there's multiple ways of using that word, but I think it's the easy thing. And I'm totally going off on this tangent because I don't, I'm coming too close to saying something somehow about myself, and it's making me freak out because that's what I do. Anyway, whatever, right? So back to it. I did not have a massive, overwhelming, this is all the evidence that proves that I'm wrong. But that is, again, that's sort of like advanced CBT. That's what I don't get it. I don't understand it. It is possible, I guess, that there's somebody that has avoidant personality disorder who went into CBT and it worked. It had to work for somebody, or else they wouldn't say this is the treatment that you're supposed to have. But literally, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find something that counteracts whatever your thought process is, and then it's supposed to be like, the light bulb goes off. Right. See, this is right, and how you were thinking was wrong, and now think right, and you'll be better. Or, okay, that didn't work because I don't know what's wrong with you, but we're going to prove to you. I'm not going to say, hey, you're wrong. What I'm going to do is prove that you're wrong by giving you this massive amount. I mean, if you've got this one thought about yourself, incapable of having a friend, okay? Like, personally, yes. And they're like, okay, let's go through it. Do you have any friends right now? Could you name 5 friends right now? Could you name 5 people in this world? They don't have to be like your neighbor next door. In this world, could you name 5 people who would consider you a friend? They would consider you a friend. You know for a fact that they would consider you a friend. Right? Can I? Yes, I can. Are there people who don't have avoidant personality disorder who, honest to God, would not have 5 people that they believe would consider them a friend in this world? Are there actually truly people like that? Yeah. I mean, this is stressing me out. I'm telling you right now. This is what therapy does. It stresses you out. Okay. How can I say that I'm not capable of having friends, of being a friend? How can I say that if I've got direct proof that people would consider... Sorry, that's Lily. Lily, what are you doing? Do you don't like this conversation either? You're going to try and stop it from happening? Thanks, Kat. Anyway, yeah, she's still alive and good. But okay, back to this. I keep trying to say anything on earth, but what I'm trying to use myself as an example because that's what I do, but it's still really hard. How can I have those two things there? It's a paradox. This is 2 totally separate ideas. They completely contradict each other. How can I do that? Normal people with CBT would then, if they had this, they would go, oh, wow, I guess I'm wrong. I guess that's not true, that idea I have about myself. Me, as a person with avoidant personality disorder, cannot give up on this core belief that I have, or whatever I want to call it. And it's like, oh, I guess I was wrong that there's anybody on this earth that considers me a friend. That's where I was wrong. Not the core belief that is just, I mean, I know logically when I think about it, it's bonkers. No, it's not the core belief that's wrong. It's I must be wrong about these other people who consider me a friend. If I go down that route, I mean, in the very least, it's incredibly insulting to these people. What would immediately happen? I mean, what my brain wants to do is to go and talk to them and say, "Hey, do you do you?" I mean, that would be such a massive insult. It's somebody that's been talking to me for years. Duh. What do you think I'm talking to you for if you're not my friend? Duh. Um. Okay. So that would be an insult, and then my brain does his thing, which is it's not really an attack. It's more like, okay, this logically does not make sense. Therefore, I've got to make it make sense. Therefore, there's something wrong with these people. Obviously, they're deluded. Obviously, uh, they don't know me at all. They're, you know, I put up a good enough front. They don't know. I mean, this is how my brain works. The KISS way of thinking, the keep it simple, stupid. Uh, you know, the easiest, most simple way of thinking about it is, which is what CBT is supposed to get to, is obviously I was wrong. Guess what? I can be wrong and it can be true at the same time. I can be wrong. You can overwhelm me with any kind of proof you want to throw at me. It's not going to change the reality. Facts are not changing the reality. The reality is it doesn't matter. This is where I'm at. And that is the personality disorder. That is why it is personality disorder. But anyway, that was kind of difficult and outrageous. And I don't want to put this video out there. But this is the point of these videos. The point of these videos is for me to use myself as an example, so that people who, I mean, especially if you go to therapy and you're like, oh yeah, this is how it is. And then the therapist is looking at you like, what? Wait, what? Wait a minute. I went to school and this is how it's supposed to work. And this is how it worked with the 20 other people that I dealt with before I came across you, the ones that don't have personality disorders. Wait, what? You're not working hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. You're not paying attention. No, the therapist is lame and they're doing therapy that doesn't work for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. You want to take this video and give it to your therapist when they start pushing back, go for it. Then me relatively humiliating myself and possibly pissing off people who know me, if they see this video, which unfortunately there's a pretty good chance that it's going to be seen by somebody who, actually, if they know me, they're going to understand. They're going to look at this and go, yeah, I know, we've heard this from you before, whatever. But whatever. Anyway, yes, give it to your therapist. Make them understand that this is what happens. They need to try harder. They need to do something better. I'm sorry that CBT is out there as the gold standard for how you treat somebody with avoidant personality disorder. It does not work. Overwhelming somebody with all these facts, it doesn't work. It's still better than making you try to remember and release the memories, because all that does is, further seed it down deeper into the extra sticky neural pathways. I don't really know what works. Schema therapy is supposed to work. What you do is you do something that doesn't really bother you that much and figure a way of sort of coming to grips with whatever it is. And then once you've learned how exactly that works for you, whatever your, how, the path that you need to take to get from A to B on this section, this little scheme, this little thing that doesn't really bug you, and then you take, whatever that map was of you getting from A to B with this, you take it and you apply that to something else that's much harder for you to deal with. That's schema theory, therapy, and that's supposed to work better for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. Sounds good to me. I haven't done it. I haven't had it work for me. What works for me is, I guess, it's full-on distraction, because what works for me is right now, and I freaked out when I realized it worked, and I told the therapist, okay, I can't go with this because, my God, at some point I'm not going to be able to have the time, the money, I'm going to run out of it or whatever. But what works for me is travel, and it really does work. And it works on a lower key thing, because for the last couple of months I found a place that's like an hour and a half, and I keep going back to the same place, and it's like an hour and a half away, and guess what? It works. It's gotten to the point now where I know I'm going there, that 5 minutes from my house, I've suddenly got the relaxation of that, even though I'm recognized, once I get there, I basically go into my little bubble, and yeah, it works for me. And it sounds like I keep pushing it. I know I keep pushing it. But I thought it was a fluke, and it does not seem to be a fluke. It seems to work for almost everybody with avoidant personality disorder that I know, to a degree. The finding a third place, either that is, I know somebody who's just like, put me in a coffee shop anywhere in the world. It must be the smell of coffee that's doing it. For me, it's travel. Anyway, it's preparing for it, doing it, thinking about it afterward. The whole thing, I don't know why it snaps me out of the real serious rumination that is very commonplace with avoidant personality disorder, and which is what puts you on that track to keep you from doing anything but being self-destructive. I still don't have relationships. It doesn't actually take care of the initial issue at all, but it's keeping me alive. So there we go. Which is, the thing is that eventually, if you stay alive long enough, it's possible that you could find something better. Like 15 years ago, I really truly had no friends at all. And then I learned about avoidant personality disorder and sort of came up with my own very low key, I was told point blank by therapists that what I was looking for in a quote unquote relationship of any sort did not exist, would not exist. There's no way, because I can only go like so far, and it can't go farther. And even at the time, it was totally wrong, because I have my oldest friend who comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. And it's okay. It's not a normal, like by any standard relationship. That is the biggest problem, is finding a therapist who can understand that what you're looking for is not normal, because you have a personality disorder. So you've got to find something that fits in your life. But yeah, that's how CBT is supposed to work. By, you just suddenly get this light bulb. And maybe if it's not just, okay, here you go, real easy. See, look, this is reality versus this is how you're thinking. But if you have like 68 different examples, then you're kind of like, oh, geez, I guess logically this other thing must be accurate as opposed to, no, that doesn't work. Because once you go through CBT, if you have an actual personality disorder, all it does is create a paradox that must exist in the world, which causes its own stress because there's paradox and, oh my God, this shouldn't exist in the world, but it just does. And CBT makes you accept, oh, there's actually two realities at the same time. So that's how it works for somebody with avoidant personality disorder versus how it actually works. Again, if you're dealing with a therapist who is getting really frustrated because it seems like you're not making progress, let them see this video. And maybe it will help them understand what you can articulate. Anyway, I made it through. As awkward as it was. And I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.